Call the Monday, May 22nd meeting of the Verona Common Council to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Clark, if you would, please.
Alderperson Diaz.
Here.
Alderperson Doyle.
Here.
Alderperson Gaskell.
Here.
Alderperson Linder.
Here.
Alderperson McGilvray.
Here.
Alderperson Reekie.
Here.
Alderperson Steiner.
Here.
Alderperson Touche.
Present.
We have everyone here this evening. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on then to agenda item number 4, which is public comment. Do we have anyone in the public that wishes to speak this evening? Do we have anyone in the public that wishes to speak? Your final opportunity under public comment. Seeing no one, we will move then to agenda item number 5. But before we do that, I just want to mention to the council that on the agenda tonight, when we get to Public Works C, items C 4 through 8 are all tied together, and they also fit in with discussion that we would be having under Plan Commission, items D 1 and 2. So when we get to C4, we'll be having a conversation both on Public Works side and on the Plan Commission side, and then we'll take action. We'll do Plan Commission items at that time as well. So with that, approval of minutes from the May 8th meeting. Those meetings minutes were included with your packet. What's your pleasure? We have a motion by Ms. Reekie. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Doyle. Were there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Under Mayor's business, just a couple items this evening. Earlier this evening, I dropped off some cans at the Wisconsin Recycling Company, who sets up in the Classic in the parking lot. And he informed me that not as many people are participating as they were in the past. So beginning in August in Verona, he will be, he's doing this at other locations as well. He will only be there at the first Monday of the month, beginning in August. So maybe we can get the word out, and there and I just have one copy of a flyer. But so certainly I know we would like to see that continue in the city if possible, so that people had an opportunity to drop their cans and so forth off there. Secondly, I heard from VACT today that they have begun the move-in process into their new facility, and they hope to have that all wrapped up within the next 2 weeks. So we wish them the best on that endeavor. And then earlier this afternoon, we had the ribbon cutting opening for United Vaccines, and Alderpersons Doyle and Linda were there, as well as from the planning department we had Adam and Catherine, and Jeff was also there as well. So we had a nice representation from the city, and I don't know if everybody did the tour or not, but if you had an opportunity to get on the tour today, a lot of people will not have that opportunity because of what they do and how they're regulated. They will not be able to get through that facility like we did today. So it was pretty interesting to see, and they, you know, we heard from them about the great working relationship that they had with the city, and I made sure that during my comments on behalf of the city that we said that we felt the same way about them, and that the relationship and the partnership doesn't end today just because the doors are opening up. That partnership will continue. So that concludes my report for this evening. We will go to the administrator's report. Mr. McCorsky, please.
Thank you. It is spring, and the flower baskets have appeared upon Verona Avenue. Wanted to let everyone know to take a look at that. It brightens up the both the east and west parts of Verona Avenue. Also, the school banner contest participants, their banners are flying above Verona Avenue through the Verona Area Educational Foundation. You'll see the participants of the school contest. There also, the banners will be at the library until on display at the library, and those banners will then be purchased or auctioned and money will go to the Verona Area Education Foundation. It does give a pop of color along Verona Avenue while they're up there. I've been requested to ask council regarding the parade participation for council members. If you could send me an email regarding who may be participating in the Hometown Days parade, so that I can get that information to the rec center.
Are there any questions for Mr. McCorsky? Ms. Doyle, please.
What's the date and the time for the parade again?
The date, it's the first Sunday
Yes.
in June.
I don't have a time. I will get that to you.
Yeah, usually, I think it starts at noon, and usually we get together around 11 o'clock or so. We'll get that information out.
Right.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll move then to the engineer's report. Mr. Monpass, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two quick updates. The signal design and installation project, the poles and heads are installed out at PB along with the cabinet. As far as when the report was written, they were waiting for the inspection to bring power into the cabinet so they can fire up the lights. Haven't got an update on that yet. The conduit and all but a little bit of pavement repair has been done at the west end, and the conduit's all installed at Paoli. The rest of that work will be done when they shut down Main Street. The second update is the County Trunk PD project. The traffic shift took place as expected Mother's Day weekend. The intersection is done, and they're working on the water main installation at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Monpass? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Jeff, and we will move on then to committee reports. We'll begin with the Finance Committee. Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under item 9A1, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the monthly bills in the amount of $1,156,440.86.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Doyle. Mr. McGilvray?
Thank you. In the way of explanation, three of the larger items from this month's bills. The first being, the largest being to Parisi Corporation, our construction for our downtown streetscape. That amount $597,898. The second being a McCann sewer draining and cleaning service for sewer cleaning in May. That amount $61,542.60. And finally to AECom technical services for various engineering projects throughout the city. That amount $54,057.81.
Thank you, Mr. McGilvray. You've heard the explanation of the major expenditures. Are there any questions for the committee or for staff? Seeing none, the motion before you is the approval of the monthly bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you. Under item 9A2, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-026, the initial resolution authorizing $5,340,000 of general obligation bonds for street improvement projects.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Doyle. Mr. McGilvray, please.
I'm going to defer to Mr. McCorsky just to go through a list of some of the items, a highlight of lists, items on being paid by these general obligation bonds. We do have Mr. Taves here, who could also answer any council questions we might have about the sale of these bonds.
I think I'll have Mr. Taves start, and we can identify the projects.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Taves.
Thank you, Mayor. Within your agenda packet, there were two different documents entitled pre-sale report. They both have essentially the same exhibits in, so I'm going to speak from the one that was first for the Series 2017A general obligation street improvement bonds, and my comments will cover agenda items 2 through 5. All of those are the administrative actions necessary collectively to issue the bonds and the notes. But if you could locate page 5 in that handout, this says capital improvements plan debt sizing across the top. What you'll see in the first two columns would be the sizings for this year's issues. $5,340,000 for the bonds. These would finance street improvement projects and related expenses. Under state statute, a bond has a maximum term of amortization of 20 years, where a note is a maximum of 10 years. Since this is the largest single expense in this year's CIP, we've chosen to finance it with bonds, so we have an extra period of time to pay for that. And part of that consideration as you look at the future years issues, which are provided for reference, there's a fair number of projects. So knowing that there's a lot in the hopper down the road, we don't want to be too aggressive about amortizing debt this year, knowing that there is likely a number of additional projects we're going to need to layer into that debt structure over the next couple of years. The remaining projects would then fall into the general obligation notes totaling $3,075,000. That includes space needs, equipment, a TIF 4 project, and then all of the utility-related projects. The totals that are shown in the subtotal project costs, those total to the CIP that was provided by staff. The rest of the expenses are estimated costs of issuance to total to the sizings that you see below. On page 6, we show the debt repayment plan. And on this sheet, starting at the left-hand side, we show a projection of the city's equalized value. The numbers for 2016 and 2017 as shown are actual. The rest are projections. We show the existing debt service payment. One item that I would note is we have taken out the debt service for the city's 2008 bonds, which we are planning to prepay with cash, which is item 6 on the Finance Committee agenda. So those have already been netted out. We then take existing and projected sources of revenue that the city expects to have available to offset part of your general obligation debt payment, leaving the net levy for debt service, which is also expressed as a tax rate per thousand of fair market value. In the center, you then see the structure for the new debt. Both the bonds and the notes we've amortized with level payments over the respective terms of amortization. The one comment I would make on the notes is you will see that the payments actually drop off in the year 2025 or the 8th year. And the reason is that's the TIF 4 project money. Because that district closes in that year, we don't want the debt to go out longer than that district is scheduled to be open. So embedded within that structure is a shorter repayment term for that particular project. The estimated rates are just that. They're where the market presently is based on comparable sales, plus we've added 0.25% just because we see rates move on a daily basis and we want to have some hedge in there. On both issues, the actual interest rate the city will pay will be determined by competitive sale. We'll take those bids on the 26th of June and bring the results into the council meeting that evening. We also then show offsetting revenue sources for this new debt consisting of TID 4 and the utilities, and we come up with a net levy for debt service and then again expressed as a rate. Looking at 2018, which would be the year that the debt service payments for these bonds and notes would come online, we'd be looking at a rate of $1.80, which is about 38-cent increase from where you are this year, but is less than where you were in 2016 at a rate of $2.14. The page behind that looks similar, and what this is it's taking the same type of a layout, but in addition to the currently proposed 2017 issues, just for sake of illustration, we've identified what the 2018 through 2021 debt service impacts would be if the current CIP as reduced to writing is executed. And again, there are large projects. It's a fair size borrowing, so we do see that rate jump up to approximately 232 by the year 2021, actually a little bit higher the year after that before it begins to decline. So this is a tool we like to prepare each time you borrow so that you understand not only the impacts of what is immediately in front of you, but also your longer range plans so that as you deliberate about the importance and relevance of each of those CIP projects, you can do that through the lens of understanding the fiscal impact. The very last page or exhibit of that packet is what we call the bond buyer index, and this is just a reflection of where the municipal market currently is. So that orange bar across the center, that reflects the average of the last 10 years. You can see we're presently just below that 10-year average after seeing historic all-time low rates in late summer of last year. So in the long view of things, rates remain currently fairly favorable. We've actually seen rates come down a bit over the last week or so associated with various economic and political news. If the borrowing package is consistent with the council's wishes, the adoption of resolutions identified in items 2 through 5 would have the impact of authorizing us to proceed and bringing, again, bids back to you on the 26th of June.
Thank you, Mr. Taves. Anything to add, Mr. McCorsky?
To answer Mr. McGillivray's question regarding the actual projects for the bonds, the 5.2 million, we'd be looking at roughly $442,000 for mill and overlay, a little over $1 million for pedestrian bike trail construction. The biggest project is the County M and County PD intersection for $2,617,691. And then a couple smaller projects, Park Lane, Schuman Railroad reconstruction, $670,000 for the road part, and then there's other parts of that that are in the utilities that are within the notes. And then $200,000 for traffic signals. So those are the projects that we're borrowing for the bonds.
Thank you, Mr. McCorsky. Questions, comments from the council? Any questions or comments? Are we prepared to move forward with motions?
I'll make a motion.
McGilvray.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-026, the initial resolution authorizing $5,340,000 of general obligation bonds for street improvement projects.
Mr. McGilvray, I apologize. You already made the motion before we had the explanation, so we do have a motion and second already on for that agenda item. So discussion on 9A2. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion was by Alderperson McGilvray, second by Alderperson Doyle, to approve resolution number R-17-026. And Mr. Tays, I'm just looking at, or Mr. Clymer, at this point, we don't need a roll call vote. That'll happen at the next meeting, correct? On the resolutions? The resolutions that we're taking action on this evening, do they require a roll call vote?
There's no statutory requirement for a roll call vote, so it would be whatever your
Okay.
local custom is on that type
So
of a resolution.
unless there be a roll call vote requested, we would do a voice vote on these this evening. Seeing no request for a roll call, all those in favor of approval of resolution number R-17-026 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Agenda item number 9A3, Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you. Moving forward in the process, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-027, directing publication of notice to electors relating to bond issue.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Doyle. Mr. McGilvray, please.
Again, as Mr. Taves noted, this is part of the process. We have to put the notice of electors out for publication, so this would allow us to do that.
Thank you. Any questions on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of resolution number R-17-027 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. That resolution is approved. Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you. Again, in keeping with our action that we were taking on the bond resolution under item 9A4, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-028, providing for the sale of $5,340,000 of general obligation street improvement bonds, series 2017A.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Doyle. Mr. McGilvray, please.
I have no further.
No further comments. Are there questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number R-17-028 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you. Under item 9A5, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-029, providing for the sale of $3,075,000 of general obligation promissory notes, series 2017B. And again, I'm assuming that we would have Mr. Taves address this issue as well as Mr. McCorsky.
Mr. Taves, anything to add on this?
No, for the information I already covered.
Correct.
Very good.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Doyle. Questions or comments? Mr. Linder, please.
I think he was asking Mr. McCorsky maybe to go through some of the lists, but of what this borrowing was for, but the bonds are 20 years and the notes are 10 years. That's why they're separate.
Correct.
Some of the projects that fall within the $3 million are space needs facility projects, senior center HVAC system, library staff remodeling, area remodel, the $700,000 for a TIF 4 downtown development project. Replacement of EMS vehicle for $104,000. Then utilities that are supporting the, let me get it right. They're supporting the Park Lane Schuman Railroad project. That's $330,000 for stormwater, $600,000 for water, and $730,000 for sewer. All those are within that, the Park Lane Schuman and Railroad project.
Thank you, Mr. McCorsky. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve Resolution R-17-029. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. McGilvery, please.
Thank you. Under item 9A6, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-030, authorizing the redemption of general obligation corporate purpose bonds dated August 19, 2008.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Doyle. Mr. McGilvery, please.
Something that was noted at the committee level with the redemption of these general obligation bonds, the city will be in a position to save about $800,000 in interest costs if we had carried it out through the life of the bond.
Thank you, Mr. McGilvery. Questions or comments? Questions or comments?
One more, just
Go ahead, Mr. Linder.
one more comment is that this money is coming from the TIF 7 closure. That's where we're using, that's where it's coming from.
Correct. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number R-17-030 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Anything else from the Finance Committee?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McGilvery. We'll move on then to Public Safety and Welfare Committee. Mr. Touche, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under item 9B1, I'm making a motion to approve a special event permit application from Phil Host for a fundraiser at Hop House Brewing Company at 231 South Main Street on Saturday, July 22nd.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Reekie. Mr. Touche.
Phil has applied for a special event permit for multiple sclerosis fundraiser on July 22nd of this year from noon till 10 p.m. at Hop House Brewing Company. The business's parking lot will be used for seating, a food cart, and live music with metal barricades marking the perimeter of the lot area. Please note, I also will be abstaining from this vote.
Okay, we'll let the minutes reflect that. Questions or comments? The motion before you is to approve a special event permit application for the Hop House Brewing Company. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries with Mr. Touche abstaining. Mr. Touche, please.
Next up, item 9B2, I'm making a motion to approve a temporary premise description amendment for Class C wine license on Saturday, July 22nd for Hop House Brewing Company located at 123 South Main Street to include the front parking lot.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Reekie. Mr. Touche, please.
Same explanation as above, just getting the premise permit going.
Questions or comments?
Again, I'll be abstaining.
Okay. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries, and we'll let the minutes reflect that Mr. Touche abstained. Mr. Touche, please.
Next up, 9B3, I'm making a motion to approve a special event permit application from Alwyn Fitzgerald for an open house at Fisher King Winery at 1105 Laser Street, be starting May 26th and ending June 18th during working hours of operation.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Reekie. Mr. Touche, please.
Allen has applied for a special event permit for a grand opening, which starts Memorial Weekend, May 26th. We will extend this permit to be completed until the patio fencing area is finished by June 18th. The business patio area will be used for seating and a ribbon cutting ceremony with initial temporary barricades, but finishing with metal barricades marking the perimeter of the area.
Questions or comments from the council? Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of a special event permit application for an open house at Fisher King Winery signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Touche?
Next up, 9B4, I'm making a motion to approve a temporary premise description amendment for a Class B beer and Class B winery license starting again Friday, May 26th, ending June 18th during hours of operation.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Ricky. Mr. Touche, please.
Just as the previous item, this is just the premise description for the special event from before.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries. Mr. Touche, please.
Next up, 9B5, I'm making a motion to approve a premise description amendment for a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license for Sugar River Pizza at 957 Liberty Drive to include an outdoor patio.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Ricky. Mr. Touche, please.
Just wish to amend my motion. No, I take that back. My apologies, wrong item. Sarah Thomas has requested a premise description amendment for Sugar River Pizza Company in Verona to include the outdoor patio. All inspections have been completed and approved.
Questions or comments? Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of a premise description amendment for Sugar River Pizza signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Touche, please.
Item 9B6, I'm making a motion to approve a Class A fermented malt beverage and Class A intoxicating liquor combination license for Brar Enterprises Incorporated at DBA Verona Mobile, 101 East Verona Avenue, Rupert Bar Agent, contingent upon a completed records check by the Verona Police Department and contingent upon the surrender of the current license for the current property.
Thank you, Mr. Touche. We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Ricky. Mr. Touche, anything to add?
Brar Enterprises has applied for this license. Basically, put simply, it's a change of lease on the property.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve a Class A fermented malt beverages and Class A intoxicating liquor combination license for Brar Enterprises. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Touche, anything else from Public Safety and Welfare Committee?
No, that is all.
All right, and we'll move right to Public Works. Also, Mr. Touche.
All right, starting with item 9BC1, I'm making a motion to award project 2017-103 Verona Street Asphaltic Rehabilitation Project.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Mr. Touche, please.
This project includes 4 different streets, the 100 block of North Jefferson, 200 block of North Jefferson, Gilman Street, and Loader Lane. 4 bids were received. The low bid from Raymond P. Cattell of Madison, Wisconsin was in the amount of $337,333.50. The high bid from Speedway Sand and Gravel in Middleton was for $386,473.50. The estimate without contingencies was $435,000. The asphalt bid material results provide a significant reduction as compared to the estimate of last year's project. Raymond P. Cattell has successfully completed last year's rehabilitation project for the city of Verona. Based on past work performed in the city and reference checked public work staff is of the opinion that Raymond has the personnel, equipment, and financial assets necessary to complete this project. I recommend that the city approves this. The amount of $337,333.50.
Thank you, Mr. Touche. Questions or comments for the committee or for staff? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve the awarding of a project for 103 Verona Street, the 2017 through 103 Verona Street asphaltic rehabilitation project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Touche, please.
Under item 9C2, I'm making a motion to approve a professional services contract with D'Onofrio Kotke and Associates for architectural services regarding library entrance construction.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Mr. Touche, please.
This agreement is to prepare plans and construction documents for the reconstruction of library entrance, construction, submittal review, and meetings with staff. The contract cost is $9,200.
Thank you, Mr. Touche. Questions or comments for the committee or for staff? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve a professional services contract with D'Onofrio Kotke and Associates for architectural services regarding the library entrance construction. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Mr. Touche, please.
Next up, 9C3, I'm making a motion to approve an amendment number 1 with MSA Professional Services for County Highway M reconstruction project.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Mr. Touche, please.
This amendment with MSA is to cover the additional design services required for the County Highway M reconstruction and expansion project. The services are additional retainage wall design near Harmony Drive, redesign of storm sewer along County Highway PD and County Highway M, coordination with adjacent City of Verona projects, archaeological survey for the additional storm and water facility required for the project. This amendment cost is $46,352.84 for a new contract value of $58,120.84.
Thank you, Mr. Touche. Questions or comments from the council? Questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve amendment number 1 with MSA Professional Services for County Trunk Highway M reconstruction project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. And we are on agenda items 4 through 8, which we had talked about. They're all interconnected, and they also impact items under D1 and 2 under the Plan Commission. So we are going to take up those issues jointly now. And when we take action, if we take action, we would take separate action from each, one from Public Works and also one from Plan Commission, and we might as well do them at the same time. So, Mr. Kleinmeyer.
Sure, I can give a little bit of background and Theron jump in when you want to. So, the 5 items from the Public Works Committee agenda and the 2 items from Plan Commission all relate to a single property as part of the North 9 Mound Road construction project that we've been going through the last couple of years. We acquired land from a property owner. We've been able to utilize that land for road right-of-way purposes. We have an easement that we needed to apply to the property, and we also have an outlot. So it's been used for city purposes. As happens sometimes when you acquire land for a road project, sometimes you end up having some surplus land, and that's certainly something, for example, that the State Department of Transportation runs into every now and again. And so I think the city was approached by a neighboring property owner wondering if the city would be willing to sell some of this surplus land and get it back on the tax rolls. And I think Theron and Ron Reeder prior to that had some negotiations with the property owner, and that essentially is what all of these different agenda items relate to. And so from the Public Works Committee agenda items, I'm focusing specifically on number 6 in your council agenda. That is a resolution that if you're inclined to approve the transaction, which is effectively approving the sale of the land from the city to the property owner, as you look at the agenda, there's a number of different documents within the resolution that are identified that you would be giving your approval to. The offer to purchase and an addendum that relate to the sale of the property. We had an agreement with the neighboring property owner because we also had to acquire some property interest from him and his wife when we were engaging in the North Nine Mound project. Part of that agreement required us to build a fence for that property owner. As part of this transaction, they would be waiving their ability to have that fence built. So that would be a cost savings to the city. And then there is an issue related to access to the new property that would be created and to what I'm just going to refer to as the Wilson property, which was the adjacent property owner, and that's what the driveway easement is related to. The Plan Commission items, in order for this transaction to occur, the Plan Commission had to make two recommendations. One was approval of a certified survey map that was going to create this new residential lot and also create the outlot that we were going to retain, and then the other was going to rezone the property from rural agricultural to neighborhood residential. And so if you're inclined to, we can answer whatever questions you have. If you're inclined to essentially approve the package project, then we would need you to approve the resolution that is under item number 6 under the Public Works Committee agenda, approve the resolution creating the certified survey map conditioned upon the sale of the property, and then approve the ordinance number 17-893, which already has the language within it that says it's conditioned upon sale of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Kleinmeyer. Questions or comments or potential motions at this point? Question, Mr. Linder, please.
Just for clarity's sake, so we got some excess land, this whole package, we'd sell the land and save having to buy a fence, put a fence up.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions, comments, or motions at this point? Mr. McGilvery, please.
Mr. Kleinmeyer, would you prefer we start with 9C4 with our motion and go right down the...
So I think actually the way that the resolution is prepared for 9C6 is I don't think that you actually need to take action on 4, 5, 7, or 8. I think it's good that we all have them on the agenda because it provides the public all this information. But effectively, if you were to approve the resolution that is in C6, you are essentially approving all of those different items because 4, 5, 7, and 8 are incorporated into the resolution.
Sounds fine. Then I would also just say that we had discussion at the Public Works Committee, and the Public Works Committee is in favor of proceeding and approving. So at this point, I will make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-031, authorizing conveyance of city property for lands 2760 North Nine Mound Road.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Diaz. Any additional questions or comments on the motion? Questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve resolution number R-17-031. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. As long as we're on this agenda item then, or on this topic, I should say, without objection, we're going to move to D1 and 2 under Plan Commission. Mr. Linder, please.
I'll make the motion. Do you want to make a contingent on sale of the property?
I think it would be good to add that to the resolution R-17-032. I would add that condition is actually already within the ordinance itself, so you only need to add that to item D1.
Okay,
Mr. Linder.
thank you. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-17-032, approving a certified survey map to create one lot at 2760 North Nine Mound Road, contingent on sale of the property.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Diaz. Questions, comments? Questions, comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve resolution number R-17-032. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are on agenda item D2. Questions, comments, motions? Mr. Linder, please.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number number 17-893, rezoning lands at 2760 North Nine Mound Road from rural agricultural to to neighborhood residential.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Mr. Linder, anything to add? None? Any questions or comments? Mr. McGilvery, please.
Just checking, Mr. Kleinmeyer, do you have something you'd like to add?
No.
Just checking, I never know when the attorney starts talking on the sidebar. you
I was
never know.
talking to Theron about something that's upcoming.
All right, thanks.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve ordinance number 17-893. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. We are now back under Public Works, Sewer and Water Committee, agenda item number
9C9.
C9. Mr. Touche, please.
I would like to start with maybe not a motion right away, but ask possibly Theron to bring up the item, and then we can set a motion from there and possibly go in closed session.
Mr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, agenda items under the Public Works Committee regarding 9, 10, 11, and 12 are all land acquisitions for the County Highway M reconstruction and expansion project that we're working with the DOT on in cooperation with the City of Madison and the City of Verona as project sponsors. The project sponsors are leading and heading the land acquisition for the entire project, funded by the local municipalities. So we have 18 lands to acquire. We have 8 completed. We have 4 on the agenda tonight, and then the remaining 6 to be taken care of in the near future. So we've done full appraisals on all properties. We have submitted the initial offers to all the landowners. Some we have received second appraisals on, some we have not. The agenda items that we're talking to you about tonight, some have the second appraisals and some do not. We would like to discuss the appraisals that we have received and the values, what we have offered to what we have been presented as a counter offer, and what the council is willing to do. At this point, do you want me to go into specifics of each parcel? How do we want to handle this, Brian? So we're talking on the appropriate agenda items.
Well, one approach that we can take, and this is the approach that we took at the committee level, is we certainly don't want to go into closed session on one and then come back and go and come back. There is information that we shared with the committee regarding each acquisition in open session, where we essentially gave background as to how we got to this point with respect to the appraisals that we've done, the values that we've shared with the property owners, and the information that we've received back from the property owners. I think there's the potential that we can take all action related to number 12 in open session, but then on number 9. But then when we talk about 10, 11, and 12, it's our recommendation as a staff that we end up going into closed session on those items, because we are going to need to be able to get guidance from the council as to what it's willing to offer to acquire the property, and that is, we're definitely be getting into bargaining issues that need to be done in closed session. And so if the council wants to move forward that way, we can take each item separately. Again, we can probably do 9 all in open session, but then our thought would be that we could give the open session information on 10, 11, and 12 all together, and then we can double back and potentially make the motions to go into closed session on those items.
Thank you. Mr. McGilvery, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the item 9, then, I'll have an offer to purchase the jurisdictional offer to award of damages for parcel 14 of Transportation Project Plat 5992-09-81.
You were making that motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. McGilvery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Diaz. Mr. McGilvery, anything to add, or do you want?
I believe it'd be best because staff has been involved in making the arrangements. I think they should do the description as well.
Good. Mr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Parcel 14 for part of the acquisition required for the M project is 54 square feet right away. 246 square feet of temporary limited easement for grading and construction easements. The offer presented to the owner was $500. They counter-offered saying they would sign for $1,000. So those were the conversations that Beth Steinhauer with MSA, sitting to my left, encountered with the landowner during the offer stages of the project.
And Beth, do you have anything to add or not?
I think that although it's going up, 100%, it's substantial to, a good idea to approve it and move ahead.
Okay. We'll open it up for questions and comments from the council.
One thing
Question? Go ahead, Mr. McIlvaine.
Sure. One thing I'd like to add along with that is there are 8 parcels left that we're trying to accumulate or purchase in order to make this project come to fruition. So I think Beth's point is well taken that in this particular case, it's a fairly insignificant amount to move us a little bit closer to that end goal.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have.
Go ahead, Mr. Jacobson.
I just want to make sure the motion's clear that the offer is to be for $1,000.
So noted and
Okay.
agreed.
And Mr. Diaz? Okay, that will be included with the motion. Seeing no additional questions or comments, the motion before you is to approve an offer to purchase, jurisdictional offer and award damages for parcel 14 of the Transportation Project Plat 5992-09-01 in an amount of $1,000. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. All right, so it's my understanding now we're going to speak on issues 10, 11, and 12.
Correct. I will give a breakdown of each parcel. I will go through parcel 9. I'll give you the breakdown of the land acquired, the initial offer, and then I'll move into the next parcel. So parcel 9, we're acquiring 0.17 acres of right-of-way and 0.09 acres of temporary limited easements. The offer also includes damages for landscaping, trees, etc. The offer presented to the owner was $30,800. Staff and the negotiator received a second appraisal in the amount of $59,075. So we've reviewed the appraisal, and the remaining items we would like to discuss
In closed session.
further in closed
Okay.
session.
So you want to speak then on any items that you can on agenda item
Yep.
B11?
B11 is for parcel 16. This is at the southwest quadrant of M and PD. This is the largest acquisition on the project for the city of Verona. We need to acquire 3.25 acres of fee right away, 0.03 acres of permanent limited easement, and 1.9 acres of temporary limited easement for grading and construction access purposes. The offer presented to the owner was $311,000. We have had multiple meetings with the landowner and their legal counsel, and we've answered every question we can to the ability regarding access, what the project entails, drainage issues, concerns, what the project is going to provide, replace, meaning if there's a cross culvert crossing M, is that going to be replaced? And the answer is yes. Minor details like that with access to their driveway, farm field access to their adjacent parcel off of M, and those are all being accounted for in the construction project. And anything else we want to bring up?
I think we have not received,
Correct.
I would say, a firm counter proposal from the property owner. I think that they received our appraisal as early as January.
January, correct.
Yes.
And so I think especially with this one, you know, we have the timing issues related to the project, and we need to be able to move forward with the statutory process. And as much as we'd like to try to work out an agreement with the property owner, you know, we're going to be here tonight trying to get information from you as to what would be an appropriate offer in light of our appraisal and the fact that we haven't received anything firm. At this point, we have not received an appraisal back from them that we would pay for. So we at this point do not know whether if they've obtained their own appraisal, and they've not shared a number with us at this point.
Okay, next one, item 12.
Parcel 8, we are acquiring .39 acres of fee right-of-way and 1.17 acres of temporary limited easement. This is also known as the Midtune property, which is south of the lands at the southwest quadrant, identified as parcel 16. So parcel 8 was on the same timeline as parcel 16, so the appraisal was given back in January, and we did not receive a second appraisal from the landowner. The .39 acres of fee right away, the 1.17 acres of temporary limited easement, the offer presented to the owner was $47,300. And we have actually had multiple conversations, face-to-face meetings, phone conversations with the owner, and they've all been very positive. There's just additional requests that they've asked that are non-monetary that should be discussed.
All right. With that, we would need a separate motion for agenda items C, 10, 11, and 12 to go into closed session, and these would require a roll call vote. Mr. Touche, please.
I'll make a motion to move into closed session for an offer to purchase, a jurisdictional offer to award damages for parcel 9 of Transportation Project Plat 5992-09-81.
And we really should read the purpose of going into closed
The
session.
Common Council may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin Statutes 19.85(1)(e) for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons deemed closed session necessary. The Common Council may reconvene in open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
before we,
Mr. McGilvray?
so, Mr. Kleinmeyer, my understanding was you were attempting, or had hoped to go into closed session and include all 3 items under that closed session as opposed to go in, go out, go in, go out?
Yes, and I think so. What we're going to do here is we're going to make a motion on the first one, and then once we're done with C10, then we'll do C11, and then we'll do C12.
Okay, fair enough. Just want to make sure.
Sure. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. This requires a roll call vote. Ms. Clark, if you would, please.
Alder McGilvray,
Aye.
Alder Ricky,
Aye.
Alder Steiner,
Aye.
Alder Touche,
Aye.
Alder Diaz,
Aye.
Alder Doyle,
Aye.
Alder Gaskell,
Aye.
Alder Linder.
Aye.
And that motion to go into closed session is 8-0.
So then I would propose to make a motion
To go into closed
to do this,
session.
and I appreciate the fact that
Yep.
it's a little bit of a headache, but do the same thing for 11 and 12.
11 and 12. Yeah. Mr. Touche, please.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session to discuss an offer to purchase jurisdictional, offer to award damages for parcel 16 of Transportation Project Plat 5992-09-81. The Common Council may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin Statute 19.85(1)(e) for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons deem a closed session is necessary. The Common Council may reconvene in open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Ms. Clark, would you read the roll, please?
Alder Ricky,
Aye.
Alder Steiner,
Aye.
Alder Touche,
Aye.
Alder Diaz,
Aye.
Alder Doyle,
Aye.
Alder Gaskell,
Aye.
Alder Linder,
Aye.
Alder McGilvray.
Aye.
And that roll call vote is unanimous. Next Is
I
that
will make a
approved,
motion
Mr.
to move into
Touche?
closed session to make an offer to purchase jurisdictional offer and award damages for parcel 8 of the Transportation Project Plat 5992-09-81. The common council may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statutes 19.85(1)(e) for the purpose of deliberating, negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons deem a closed session necessary. The common council will reconvene in open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session.
We have a motion by Mr. Touche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Again, this requires a roll call vote. Ms. Clark, if you would, please.
Alder Steiner.
Aye.
Alder Touche. Aye. Alder Diaz.
Aye.
Alder Doyle.
Aye.
Alder Gaskell.
Aye.
Alder Linder.
Aye.
Alder McGilvray.
Aye.
Alder Rieke.
Aye.
That roll call vote is unanimous. We are in closed session, and we will reconvene in open session. We are back in open session. We are on agenda item E. Ms. Doyle, please.
Thank you. For agenda item 9E1, I'd like to make a motion to add an amendment to the city administrative policy number 4 regarding non-discrimination language.
We have a motion by Ms. Doyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz.
So
Ms.
this
Doyle?
amendment would add the terms gender identity and gender expression to the protected classes that cannot be discriminated against in the recruitment, hiring, and as employees of the city. And just to further add on, this was approved unanimously by the committee, and some of the discussion that took place at the committee level said that a recent, 7th Circuit Court decision has said that sexual discrimination should include this already, but we're just trying to ensure that our policy is comprehensive.
Questions or comments? Mr. Touche?
So, did you just say by law we already have to not discriminate on those?
So the background in that is there's a 7th Circuit Court decision, but it will probably end up at the Supreme Court. So it's not for sure. So again, this is just, it should be included and might in the future, but this is to ensure that we're just being comprehensive.
Okay, so the Supreme Court hasn't decided because they haven't had the option yet, but we're deciding on our own. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Ms. Doyle, please.
Agenda item 9E2, I'd like to make a motion to add an amendment to the city administrative policy number 24 regarding non-discrimination language.
We have a motion by Ms. Doyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Diaz. Ms. Doyle?
So this amendment would add the terms gender identity and gender expression to the protected classes that cannot be harassed or retaliated against as employees of the city.
Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Ms. Doyle, anything else in personnel?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Under old business, we have discussion and possible action regarding selection of a city council representative to the Planning Commission. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to make a nomination.
Yes, sir.
Jack Linder.
Mr. Linder has been nominated. Are there any other nominations, Ms. Doyle?
Alder Diaz.
Alder Diaz has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? There are no other nominations, so I will close the nominations, and this requires a roll call vote. Again, we would need a minimum of 6 votes for this appointment. Ms. Clark, if you'd read the roll, please.
Alder Steiner.
Linder.
Alder Touche.
Linder.
Alder Diaz.
Diaz.
Alder Doyle.
Diaz.
Alder Gaskell.
Diaz.
Alder Linder.
Linder.
Alder McGilvray.
Linder.
Alderiki.
Diaz.
And the motion fails on a 4-4 vote. So we are under new business. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of operator licenses. Ms. Clark, please.
Thank you. I have operator licenses for Angel Bassler for Gray's Tide House, Sarah Trun for Treads, and Ashley Roloff for Monk's Bar and Grill.
Thank you. You've heard the applicants. What's your pleasure? We have a motion by Mr. Touche to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Ricky. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of operator licenses signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. We are on to announcements. Do we have any announcements this evening? Any announcements? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order. We have a motion by Ms. Ricky. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Doyle. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you.